I'm going to talk for just 10 or maybe 15 minutes about the squadron today. And we're a squadron, we're not a full regiment, so about a third of the strength of a regiment. That's the Waikato Mounted Rifles today. I should perhaps just explain why you've got a Brit speaking to you. I came to New Zealand 10 years ago by way of Kenya, where I worked for 4 years after leaving England. And I enlisted in the Territorial Force in 2000 and took over command of the Waikato Mounted Rifles then and commanded them until the end of 2008, until the end of last year. And I now work on various projects, really things that I was unable to complete when I was commander. So Richard's described our history going back to the 1860s. And if none of you are aware, Richard is really a most accomplished historian. He has written us a most fantastic regimental history. And I commend it to you. It's infinitely preferable, actually, to my own regimental history when I served in the British Cavalry. And I think it knocks spots off that. So we're all extremely grateful for Richard undertaking this project, which was finished in, when was it? At the end of 2007. Anyway, as he has touched on, in the post-Second World War years, up to really 2003, we've had a bewildering succession of titles and reorganizations. And it's only been since really 2003 that we were able to get our title, the old historic title, restored, and the right to wear our cap badge. We're a unit in the Royal New Zealand Armoured Corps. We're a territorial unit, which means we're part-time soldiers who act as the Army's reserves. There are 62 soldiers in the squadron, and we're each obliged to complete at least 20 days service during the year. We come from every sort of background and include former soldiers like myself from Commonwealth armies. We have a female Lance Corporal who's a barrister, a police detective who's a captain, a university professor who's a lieutenant. There are car salesmen, builders, farmers, agricultural contractors, vehicle mechanics, truck drivers, students, teachers, and so on. All of whom give up their time voluntarily to serve our country. We're paid, now quite reasonably, until a year ago really, it was a pittance, I think my fellow soldiers would agree. But that has changed, and not before time. We are paid for 8 hours work in a day when we're on duty. So that means if we do 24 hours work, we still get paid for 8 hours. And if we do part of a day, then we're paid on an hourly basis. But you must turn up and do an hour and a half to get paid at all. The basic rank for the lowest rank, the basic rate, for the lowest rank is $130 a day. Is that right, Ox? That's the basic rate before allowances. And that must have nearly doubled your pay, has it? I reckon. Okay, so it gives you an idea of what we were paid a little while ago. A corporal would get $170 a day, and a lieutenant $180, although Mike tells me he's yet to receive it. But we are in hope. Now it's a bit of a challenge for us all in the territorials to manage 2 careers, if you like, running parallel to each other. But every effort's made to help to try to balance an individual's military service with his or her responsibilities and obligations towards their family and civilian employers. But it can be a difficult juggling act. Our average age is somewhat higher than theirs in the regular force, but we'd like to think that our personnel are a bit more worldly wise and canny in their approach to military matters as a result. There's not a lot of old-fashioned shouting and stamping in the Waikato Mounted Rifles. We generally leave that to the infantry. Individuals are treated as grown-ups and expected to think for themselves. Our role is one of mounted reconnaissance and surveillance, not really so different from that of our illustrious forebears that Richard has described to you. And we work extremely closely together in three-man or woman or mixed crews. Our job is to seek out and provide accurate and timely information and pass that back to the appropriate commander. And our doctrine is reconnaissance by stealth. That means to see without being seen. On security operations, such as those being undertaken on some of New Zealand's current overseas deployments, we can also provide commanders with a quick reaction force, with a degree of protected mobility. And the vehicle that you've seen outside is now being sent to East Timor. I don't think there's been any announcement about that, and we're not quite sure whether they're still on the high seas or they got there for just that purpose, with our troops in East Timor. Although our training has a serious purpose, I hope it is also fun. Otherwise, why give up your weekends or holidays to tear around the country in what seems invariably to be pouring rain? As you'd expect, we teach our soldiers to handle the Army's range of small arms, to drive our vehicles, to read a map, to use a radio, and to be competent at first aid. In the Waikato Mounted Rifles, or WMR as we're known in the Army, our soldiers must be able to operate sophisticated surveillance equipment, to understand all aspects of mounted reconnaissance and surveillance tactics, and be familiar with the demands of working on their own in small teams. All of us also undertake leadership training. While we do train at Wairuru, of course, we also benefit greatly from the generosity of a large number of landowners and farmers in the Waikato who kindly allow us to use their land. Periodically, we're able to train with the regular force, and at present we've got 10 soldiers training in the South Island with our sister Mounted Rifles unit, Queen Alexandra's Mounted Rifles. We were the 4th, as Richard has told you. They were the 2nd Mounted Rifles. In the limited time available, we can't hope to cover every facet of every job, or have more than a basic knowledge of many of the military tasks that we're expected to perform. Yet for comparatively little cost to the taxpayer, the territorials can provide additional trained manpower to back up the regulars. As the pressure has grown on the regular force to meet a rising number of operational commitments, so we've been increasingly asked to help make up the numbers. A total of 32 soldiers from WMR have served on operations in East Timor and the Solomon Islands, and last week the next squadron commander of the Waikato Mounted Rifles, he returned from a 6-month stint in Afghanistan. You should bear in mind that in the last year, that's running backwards from the 1st of July this year, the New Zealand Army deployed 575 personnel to operations or minor missions overseas, but there's mostly to East Timor and to Afghanistan. And this comes from what is really a tiny regular force of about 4,500 men and women. And the territorial force, we number probably, I'm not sure the exact figures, but it's between 1,600 and 1,800 men and women. We're based in Hamilton and come under the 6th Hauraki Battalion Group. And their headquarters is in Tauranga. They're infantry orientated and they have one company in Rotorua. So we're the only squadron or company size unit in the Waikato. Like the Haurakis, we're committed to supporting our local communities. For example, by helping civil defence activities such as flood relief and providing ceremonial detachments on Anzac Day or on other occasions such as Armistice Day, the Armistice Day event that is taking place in Cambridge this weekend. Our present vehicle is the Pinsgar Light Operational Vehicle. And we've got the armoured variant. About 321 Pinsgars were purchased in 2005, I think, to replace Land Rovers. We, being the territorials at the end of the line, and our vehicles were not replaced officially till last year, although we had some experience on these vehicles before that. We have 5 of the armoured variant. One is outside, and they're on loan to us from the regular infantry battalion in Linton. I travelled down in that vehicle this evening, and if you're interested and you haven't had a look, then please do so. That, I think, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick summary for you of the Waikato Mounted Rifles today. But we're here now, the two of us, to answer any of your questions or prompt any discussion that you might have.